Hello, folks. I'm a loss prevention officer, and I'm going to be covering the top 5 myths that exist out there in the world of the internet. I'm going to start off already with number one, and that is the idea that you cannot be touched by a loss prevention officer. And this myth is twofold. One, it comes from just the ignorant public, right? You have a lot of people in the public that believe their opinions are just as much as facts, weigh just as much as facts, and in this case, it's just not true. You got a lot of people that just feel like the only people that have the power to touch them are a police officer, and such is just not the case. But also the other angle of it for why people feel like this is a fact and not a myth is that there are a lot of companies that, despite state legal authority in most states, I don't know if it's all states allow it, but most states have what is known as merchant privilege, which allows for detainment to include the use of force if necessary. But there are many companies, especially in the sensitive culture we live in, that have voluntarily, not by state law, voluntarily restricted their loss prevention officers from putting their hands on a shoplifter. Unfortunately, that leads to confusion because while you have company A, B, C, D, and E that says, no, we're not going to allow our loss prevention officers to touch people, you have company F and G that says, no, we're going to take advantage of the state authority given us to lay our hands on you. So then it causes confusion because you have bystanders that are looking at like, hey, you can't do that, right? You're not a police officer, because people not only have seen shoplifting go on in other places where clearly the loss prevention officer does not bother touching people, but also they have this myth that police officers are the only ones that have authority to detain people, especially when it comes down to handcuffing people, which is just not the case. Okay. Second myth that's out there that's so comical, I hear it all the time, is that, oh, you're just a wannabe police officer. You're a wannabe. You guys are just wannabes, right? Because they see what we do and they, for some reason, automatically assume that, oh, you must be a wannabe, which is just not the case, right? I've been a loss prevention officer for quite some years now, and I have zero, and I mean zero desire to be a police officer. I see what they deal with. Of course, I get a chunk of dealing with the same thing they deal with. You'll be amazed, but we kind of deal with the same thing, same people, right? So the little bit that I deal with, the last thing I do is take that little bit, which doesn't represent everything that a police officer deals with, but the bit I do deal with brings it to where the last thing I want to do is deal with on a daily basis the things that they deal with, especially at that escalated level, where now you're talking about, dealing with firearms, dealing with knives, dealing with mentally insane people, right? And having to make that judgment call to possibly take somebody's life. I have no desire to do that. So this idea that, oh, well, every loss prevention officer out there is just a wannabe is a very annoying statement, right? Because in reality, yes, there does exist wannabes in every profession out there. Every profession has a wannabe who wants to, who's a wannabe person for the next level, whether it be somebody in the military who's a wannabe special forces or Delta Ranger or, Navy SEAL, or you have that person who's a civilian who never spent a second in the military who's a wannabe military vet or special forces, or if you have somebody who's, a mere nurse who's a wannabe doctor, or a high school athlete who's a, wannabe professional athlete. You have a wannabe in every profession in life. But that doesn't mean every single person in that profession is a wannabe to that next level. So no, not every loss prevention officer is a wannabe police officer. I have no desire to be it. I'm very happy where I'm at. Myth number 3, secret shopper. Okay, there's secret shoppers. I see this comment a lot. Oh, these stores got secret shoppers that are out to get you. And it's hilarious because a secret shopper has nothing to do with being a loss prevention officer. There are two completely segregated jobs. Nothing, zero to do with each other. Okay, the only thing that's in common between the two is that both pretend to be shopping, right? And with a loss prevention officer, that's not always the case. But sometimes during what is called floor surveillance, a loss prevention officer may, and that's may, choose to pretend to shop. Okay, just depends on what's going on. A secret shopper is somebody who comes in to do a secret grading of the store. So they're coming in to grade the store on cleanliness, how their items are stocked, the customer service, the management team, how well the transactions go when it's time to get into the line. They're coming in to grade that secretly while pretending to be a shopper. So those jobs do exist, but that has nothing to do with being a loss prevention officer. Okay. The next one is pay. A lot of people laugh and say, it's a kind of a twofold myth. These people in these comments, pretty much on every shoplifting video, you have that person that says something as silly as, oh man, these people risking their lives for somebody else's stuff for minimum wage, ha 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 ha. And it's so hilarious because, one, This career is hardly about risking your life. While yes, random crazy stuff does happen. While yes, I myself have has had weapons pulled on me and used against me and things like that, right? There are things that happen for sure. Yes, there is a risk, but it is nowhere near the level of a police officer, right? It is very rare to hear about a loss prevention officer losing their lives. Now, has it happened in history? Yes, it has, but it's not on the same level as a police officer. Now, that's a job that every day you are indeed guaranteeing that you're risking your life, right? During some kind of stop before your shift ends, more than likely. We're not at that level. And so, no, okay, we have certain things that we do that it makes it to where this job's really not that kind of deal where, oh, we're risking our lives. But the second part to that myth, the idea that we get paid minimum wage, is you have a public that uses logical fallacy to come up with these opinions, right? This one's known as a non sequitur. Basically, what you have is a lot of people that have either been a cashier at one time in their lives, or they know a cashier. Let's say for a store like Walmart, or or a store like J.C. Penney, or Dillard's, or whatever case may be, right? And they know these people get paid minimum wage, right, or very near minimum wage. And then they say, well, if position A there, being a cashier or being something else in that store, pays minimum wage, then position B here, this loss prevention officer, must also get paid the same thing. That's the way the logic concludes, which is absolutely hilarious, because such is just not the case. Far from it. A loss prevention officer, even at right off the street entry level, is rarely paid minimum wage by a company, despite the fact that yes, the cashier in that other position, or that person that works the back room, or a stocker or whatever, does get paid minimum wage, has zero to do with what a loss prevention officer gets paid. And even at entry level, it is rare for a company to slap a loss prevention officer, even at entry level, no experience whatsoever, to slap him with minimum wage. Sorry, but it's just a myth. I know it's something that people like to laugh at because they want something to get at that loss prevention officer with. They hate any idea of any kind of law enforcement whatsoever. So, it's not just police. They just hate anything to do with, somebody affecting them with consequences of their actions, right? They want to be able to get away with it. They were raised and grew up with parents that did not know how to tell them no, did not discipline them. So the idea of somebody being that kind of person, they hate. And that's just the way society is. Not everybody, but a lot of people are. And so one thing is like, oh, I get to laugh because at the end of the day, I know this person's making a minimum wage. It's funny because I even had a security guard out of all people that I actually trespassed from a particular company I worked at one time. This security guard ended up getting trespassed because he decided to come in and act a fool with his wife, who had been previously trespassed. So I had already trespassed her. He decided to come in, and he thought that his badge as a security guard was somehow going to be something over me, and he found out the hard way, that was just not the case, right? So they both tried to start laughing and be like, this person's doing this for this many dollars an hour. And literally he knew, no, it was that more than likely I was making more than he was making, because I know how much the guards, especially a uniform guard, especially in the state I'm in, make on a typical average scale. And so more than likely I was making more than him, but him and his wife were both laughing, thinking that I made nothing as far as money, that I was a minimum wage earner, which I was not. So I'm just laughing on the inside. I didn't get into a pissing match with this person, but it is such a common myth, even to the point to where you had a security guard thinking that yes, I was making minimum wage, which such is just not the case. The last one is the idea of race. That you got these people that be like, oh well, while they're watching us black people, the white person is getting away with tons of merchandise, and the comments it's just so annoying, right? Because as a black man myself, and as a person that works in this industry, I know that such is the furthest from the truth. All right, you may. I'm not gonna say it doesn't exist anywhere, but you may have the rookie that's fresh off the streets coming in with a racial bias or a prejudice, and that person wouldn't last long. I can guarantee you that. They wouldn't last long at all. They'll last a couple of months and then they'll be booted, right? Because they're not going to get the results. If they're coming in thinking like, hey, the person I need to watch is either a young black man, or the person I need to watch is somebody who dresses a little more street than other customers, that's the person I'm going to look at. They're not going to last long in this industry, because the reality, compared to the myth that's put out on YouTube and Reddit and World Star Hip Hop, is that no, we're not watching you based on your race. I watch everybody. I don't care how old you are. I don't care how young you are. I don't care what color you are. I don't care what gender you are. I'm watching you based on, like anybody else that's a loss prevention officer that's worth their weight. I'm going to be watching you based on behaviors. Behaviors that every single shoplifter does, no matter what. Cannot be helped. You're going to do it at one point or another. So somebody like myself who knows what the hell they're doing, I'm going to be watching you based on that. And then, of course, I'm going to be watching you based on what merchandise are you putting yourself nearby, right? That's what I'm watching. I don't care what you look like. If you're near a certain type of merchandise, if you're acting a certain kind of way, I'm going to watch you. So no, my eyes don't immediately dart on, oh, it's a black person, I'm watching them. Or, oh, this person's dressed street, I'm going to watch them. Especially if you work in an area where there's a lot of street people, because then you'll be wasting your time looking at everybody and getting nothing. So yes, that's another myth, the idea that loss prevention officers sit there and only watch a certain type of group, right? And that the joke is that, oh, this other person is making away with a whole cart worth of stuff while they're watching this person. Or, oh, this person is only stealing $5 worth of stuff. That means that this other person got away with $1,000 right behind their back. Sorry, hate to say it, but such is not the case, okay? So those are just 5 top myths I figured I would share with you. Hope you enjoyed it. I may make future videos depending on how I feel, but figured I'd deal with that one as my very first video. You all have a good day.